Welcome back to Therapy Talks with LB. I am Lorna, and tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about myself. I had mentioned early on that I would share a little bit about my childhood and also my trauma and my healing journey. And one of the things that I found useful is that therapy was helpful in identifying some of those issues that I didn't even know existed. And why they existed. Um, the ACE form consists of about 10 questions where it asks you between the ages of 1 and 17 challenging questions that would impact someone who is under 17 years old and may have a lasting effect until adulthood. Adverse childhood experiences are negative experiences that happen between the ages of 1 and 17. These experiences are usually traumatic events. ACEs can affect a person's health throughout their lifetime, and they can lead to issues such as mental health conditions, chronic health conditions, substance use disorders, and others. These conditions can be treated or managed throughout a person's life. And some ways that you can determine if these adverse childhood experiences had to have an impact on you is by looking back and thinking, even in your day to day now, do you have difficulty forming close relationships? I know that was a big challenge for me, in developing close, intimate relationships with other people. I did not feel comfortable. I did not trust them. So I shied away from those kind of relationships, or I ran before it got too deep. And part of that was because I did not have a close relationship with my mother. Actually, it was very distant. And I felt unwanted, unloved, unprotected, and dismissed as a child, as a young adult, and also when I went away to college. I did not feel like the mother that I needed was available for me. I did learn to unpack that in therapy and gain some tools to help me understand and to offer my own compassion for her situation as a mother of seven. She taught six boys before she had me, and she didn't have space for me. She could not offer comfort to me, didn't really have any experience herself due to her upbringing. And it took me a long time to accept that and to offer some forgiveness. And I also learned to let go of some of those things that I was holding on to. They were not bringing me peace, and they were very disruptive in how I managed my life. I, I did some acting out behaviors, which contributed to, loss of relationships, loss of myself in a lot of those time periods. I didn't know who I was. I was learning day by day, teaching myself. I did have an aunt who filled in the gap for a lot of those spaces, but I didn't feel like anything would cover or suffice for the emptiness that I felt inside for not having that mother figure. So I had a mother wound. And in actuality, I realized we had a family wound because we did not know how to emote. We didn't know how to show up for one another. When there was tragedy, when I lost my brother at 18, when he passed away, he was murdered. We didn't know what to do. That was the most devastating thing that's ever happened in our family. So we didn't know how to come together as a family, love on one another, and show support for one another. But I did at that time understand that I needed therapy. So I sought therapy for myself at that age. And some of the useful tools that I gained from that time period was, you don't have to do this by yourself. There are support groups and there is therapy available. And I utilized those tools even back then. And it was still a long journey for me. I didn't get it right away, but at the time, what I did get was helpful. And I really appreciate that. As I grew up, you know, I struggled with just not doing things the right way. I got into trouble. Um, I really struggled with adult figures and authority figures in particular. I struggled with friendships. I did not know what their intentions were. And sometimes those relationships turned out to be healthy for me, but some of those were unhealthy and they did not have my best interests in mind. Their intentions for me was to use and abuse me as well. So I have experienced some adulthood trauma as well and worked through those and still am working through some of those adulthood traumas. But some of the things that could be indicative of someone who has experienced some childhood adverse effects, experiences would include fear of people, difficulty sleeping or frequent nightmares, bedwetting, changes to your mood, like mood swings up and down. One day you're happy, one day you're sad, one day you don't even know why you feel the way that you feel. Um, Difficulty showing affection, difficulty learning new tasks and maintaining the information because of memory issues, and avoiding situations or events that relate to the trauma that you experienced. Those are some things that can indicate that you may have experienced trauma. And I want to encourage you, if you have experienced trauma, to seek some support, to seek some help. Help is available. Therapy is available. It's not as taboo as it once was. And if you are still on the fence about whether going to seek someone for individual therapy, there are support groups online. There are also support groups through your different churches. And you can also form your own support group amongst your peers, peers that you trust with your feelings and your emotions. I went a long time just feeling like I was living life and doing life by myself because I was afraid of being hurt again. Because it seemed like every time I allowed someone to be close to me, that relationship ended up in hurt. And I know I take responsibility because I contributed to some of that as well because I was scared and I didn't treat people the way that they deserve to be treated. And I take responsibility for that. I said things that I should not have said, acting out, being rude or abrasive in my speech and how I came across. And I've asked for forgiveness for a lot of those things. And for some people, it is their decision whether they want to forgive and move forward, whether we reconnect as a friend or whether we come to an understanding that this is something that happened. We not necessarily need to move closer and carry on like it never happened. But those things did occur as well. I have a set of practices that I do to help me make it through the day. I have a routine of where I get up early in the morning prior to getting ready for work, where I pray and I meditate. I do my deep breathing exercises. One thing about deep breathing exercises I do encourage is mindful breathing, and that you practice that on a regular basis. So when an occasion occurs, an anxiety symptom or an anxiety provoking situation occurs, that you already have that tool. You already have tools to utilize to help yourself in the midst of those things. And we're not going to be perfect, but we do know that the more we have practice on something, the easier it is to come back to that when we need that thing or that tool. I also do a daily gratitude journal, at least I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. And first thing, I thank God for waking me up, able to think clearly and rationally and make critical decisions, and as well as the ability to walk, talk, and move about. One thing that I learned about my trauma, I took an opportunity to be involved in EMDR, which is a really tough trauma related therapy. It brought up memories that I had not remembered. I had suppressed those memories, and that was hurtful. I'm not going to say trauma therapy is easy for everyone because it was very challenging. I think it was very necessary for some of the things that I needed to work through and unpack. But it is something that you have to be ready for and prepared for. And your therapist can guide you through that, leading up to when it is actually a good time for you to start, because you don't start it right away. You go to and through several sessions to identify what area you want to address, and then you move on to the next thing. But one thing that I learned in those sessions is that I am worthy. I forgave myself for the actions that I portrayed when I was unaware, and for some of those actions when I became aware, because I wasn't completely healed. And one thing about being completely healed, I believe that we're always works in progress, because some days it's going to feel like we're doing great, and then we're going to have a relapse to where, okay, was I really healed from that situation, or did I put a band aid on it? And then other things are easier to let go of and you move on. But that mommy wound, in which I consider that family wound because it encompassed all of us, it wasn't just me. You know, my childhood was unique to me. My brother's childhood was unique to them. So we did not have the same upbringing. We didn't even have the same parent. My mom was a parent to 6 brothers long before she had me. She had me at 31. She had her first child at 16. So there was a lot of time in between there. And growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, she faced a lot of challenges of her own. Her and my dad divorced. She remarried. And in between there, she dated different men who were unhealthy for her, for me. Um, they were not safe people, yet they were in my life. And I had to protect myself the best that I knew how as a kid. So, in this session, my intention was just to invite you into my life a little bit, let you know just a little bit about me and how I came to be who I am, why I am the way that I am, and that I am still growing. And I wanted you to know that I'm still growing, I'm still healing. It is a process, it ebbs and it flows. And I'm hoping to gain more insight into myself and to others, the people that I help. And I thank God that He has given me this gift and this purpose to be of service to other people, because servitude is needed. We're on earth here to make an impact, and that impact comes from servitude and also serving ourselves. Not self serving in a negative or way in which we feel like, or other people might feel like we're being selfish, but actually showing up for ourselves, taking up space. We take up space and we have earned it. And you are most welcome to take up space in this arena and on this channel. Thank you again for this evening. This is Therapy Talks with LB. I welcome any questions. I welcome you, and I also challenge you to open about your truth. Open up, share. give feedback, and just ask some questions if you need any questions answered. I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your presence and your listening ear. Please tune in, subscribe, and the notification bell will let you know whenever I post another video. I'm going to try to at least upload once a week. And as you know already, I've uploaded more than once a week because there are things that need to be heard. And I am obedient. When God gives me direction and a charge, I follow through. So that's why you've been getting more than one video once a week, because we are healing. We're healing as a nation. We're healing as a family. We're healing as individuals. And I'm going to be a part of that. And I'm going to be a continued part of that. Thank you so much again. God bless you. I hope your walk this week is great and that you make an impact. We'll talk soon, and that's what I wanted to leave you with. Good evening.